I did a Aseprite texture tutorial on stone, and I figured since you guys love that one so much, we'd do a brick texture tutorial. Hey guys, welcome to my TutsByKai. I'm Kai, and today we are back in Aseprite once again, taking a look at how to create a brick pixel art texture. So we're gonna get started right away. We don't need the timeline, we don't need the playback over here, the preview. So we're gonna get started. I'm going to grab a palette over here, see if I remember how to do this. We're gonna go ahead and load a palette up. And this palette is going to be, we'll use the Edge 32 because I love that palette so much. And we'll get a good start with this. We'll use this red color for the base of the brick. I'm going to hit G to bucket fill that. I might change it a bit. It's a bit pinkish, I suppose. Maybe something like that. Yeah, that looks better. Alrighty. So, we're going to choose a more yellowish kind of white color. And that's pretty good. So we have a bit more variation in between all those bricks like that, I suppose, right? Some of them smaller, some of them bigger. Just really depends on what you want to do with it. And go down. Trying to create as much variation in the bricks as possible, so we don't get that that textured look like that. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and untile this now. So go back to none. Now we have our base. What I want to do is, instead of this yellowish color here, I want to kind of change this to just a darker red, maybe? Something like that. Yeah, I like the way that looks. So we can go ahead and hit I for the color drop that. We can do a bit of the shadowing now. Something like that, maybe just a bit darker. Maybe something like that. You can go ahead on each of the bottom side of all of these bricks, go ahead and create a bit of a line right there. Make sure you don't go over top of the grout. Like that, holding down shift with the brush tool, and that is that. All right, so if we go back to tiled mode, you can see that we now have all of the shading for that. I kind of want to make this grout a bit darker, so we'll go ahead and even make that darker, and then hit G to bucket fill those lines. All right, so I like the way that looks, looking pretty good. Now this looks too perfect. In my opinion, bricks usually don't look that perfect, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in and we're gonna undo tiled mode once again. And I'm going to add in a bit of cracks and make it look not as perfect. So I'm going to grab this this shading color that we had and make that color a little bit darker, something like that. And I'll just add in like a couple of spots here and there. Maybe we'll go on the edges, right? On the edges of all these bricks, something like that. And make sure you don't go right here because that's not actually the edge. It will tile over to the side and actually make this piece the edge right there. That's the piece that we need to grab. And these edges right here, and the same thing for all of these. Once again, this isn't the edge, this is the edge. It's in tiles. And once we go into tiled mode, you'll be able to tell if you actually made a mistake. So like I said, if you put that as the edge, it would look weird. That's not the edge. So make sure you go all the way across. Easier to do in tiled mode, something like that. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And we'll go around and do the same thing that we did on the, ooh, I missed this edge right there. See, you also got to go around and make sure you got all the edges. I'm gonna go ahead and put a bit of edge around what we just did. So we'll grab that lighter color, and then just on the top edges right there, go ahead and add a bit more shading. And I think it looks pretty good. Missed this side over here. Don't want to miss anything. Once again, double check. And if you see something later on, always go ahead back. You can always go back and fix it. Don't worry about it. But it looks pretty good. I think we got all the edges, and one of the last things I want to do is I want to go ahead and add some texture inside of the grout there. So I drop the grout with the I key, and we'll drag that down just a little bit, make it a bit darker, and we'll go ahead and just add some variation within the grout. So not outside, just inside of it. I think we got all the little nooks and crannies inside there with that little bit of texture, and what I want to do is I'm going to grab this shading color that we used a bit ago and grab actually this darker color right there, and we'll darken that up once again. And we'll take that and we'll just add in a bit of variation inside of the shading that we did earlier, just to get a bit more texture inside of there, so it doesn't look as smooth and as plain as it did before. Just breaking it up with longer lines and a bit of 1 pixel lines and stuff like that. That might be a little too harsh. So what we can do is we can go up to edit and hit replace color, and then we'll just we'll change that from that color to a lighter red than what we had in that, because that's a bit dark. So what we'll go is we'll desaturate a little bit, brighten it up a little bit, Maybe something like that, maybe. Yeah, maybe a little bit darker. Something like that. All right, there we go. So we lightened it up a bit so it's not as harsh, and what I want to do is I want to add a bit of cracks on some of the bricks here. So we'll grab that that lighter color right there that we did again, and we'll just add in like a crack or so every once in a while. Something like that. Not too much, because you see that starts to look a bit textured, so what we can do is once again go ahead and lighten that up as well. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the single mode instead of tiled mode, and we will go ahead and double check this for any problems that we have. Make sure we have all of the edges all good and everything else. And what I want to do is we can add in a lot of other stuff to this. We can actually grab that grout color once again and just lighten it and saturate it maybe a little bit. Get a bit of variation there. We might actually change this to a bit more of an orange for this as well, and hue shift that over on the side there. Bit more orangey, bit brighter maybe, something like that. We can go ahead and just add in some random little specks, because you know how bricks always look kind of speckly sometimes, but not too much. You don't want to go overboard with this, because you'll definitely be able to see that from far away. And like I said, once again, you can always go up and you know, replace that color if it's a bit too weird, something like that. Just giving it a bit more texture. And if we go back to tiled mode and go in the big tile, you can see that we have a lot of stuff going on here. So I want to add a bit more, because this is looking a bit bland right now. So what I'll go and I'll grab that color that we just used, and we'll go ahead and just add a couple more speckles around, and maybe hue shift that up a little bit. So like I said, it always has a bit of different colors in there, somewhere around all the edges of the bricks. It's looking a bit too solid around there. Go ahead and just add in some texture, and once again we'll change that color one more time and get maybe even a bit more pink in there, something like that maybe. Yeah, sure. And I can already tell that we're going to have to hue shift this as well, because that pink is standing out a little bit too much. So I go ahead, and once we grab all those edges, we can go ahead and replace that color with something that's a little less pink. Maybe like that. And it's looking good so far, but we can go ahead and also, once again, we can add in vines and stuff like that to the bricks. But once again, that's not going to work if you're going for a more, you know, city-esque thing. It did work for the stone that we did before, but I'm going to think that we should be done with this at this point right now. We can go ahead and go back to single mode and take a look at our brick texture. We can actually go ahead and add a bit of highlights as well to the brick, and hue shift that to a bit more orange. Maybe that's a bit too bright. And that's pretty good. And we can go ahead and just add in some lines there, creating a bit of the highlights for the brick, just drawing your attention to the center of each one of the bricks, I suppose. And once again, this is looking a bit too orange, so we can go ahead and replace that color with a different color from the palette here. Maybe something like that. Alright, so that's pretty good. We can go back to tiled once again to see if that looks pretty good. I like it. I will see you guys in the next Aseprite tutorial. Let me know what you want to see textured in the next video. I will see you guys then. I hope you guys enjoyed this brick texture. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. But until then, bye.